Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, today's show is the big reveal on the results of the 2020 Book Discovery Survey. Now, I know a lot of you may have even participated in the survey, and thank you for your participation. So it really did help me out a lot. And I'll just go over what I was trying to accomplish with this survey. There's a number of surveys out there on book readership. In other words, have you read a book in the past year? How many books do you read? All that kind of stuff. But there's very few studies that go over how people actually find books to read. And that's a big question for authors, particularly self-published authors. And for those who watch trends in society, that is another group who's going to be interested in this information because it's changing over time, no doubt. And we have so many more options than we have in the past. So I really wanted to get a baseline of where readers are actually finding books to read. Now, we had 490 participants, so it was a really good number. With that sample size, I have 95% confidence level with a margin of error of 5% in either direction for these findings. But we did see some really definite trends with the results. And so without further ado, let's get into the survey itself. Now, I asked participants to indicate whether they used a particular source, never, occasionally, or often. Now, never I interpreted as they either resist using it, they dislike using it, or they're unfamiliar with it. Now, occasionally, that's a kind of difficult category because I could have said, oh, well, do you use it 3 times a year or 5 times a year? So, we could have gone through that, but I really just wanted to get that knee-jerk reflex reaction out of participants instead of having them to think, well, let's see, did I use that 2 times this year or 3 times this year? I just wanted to get that quick person on the street, hey, do you use this to find books? I really wanted to just get a quick reaction from them because I think that's the most authentic. So I didn't really ask them to define what occasionally meant, whether that meant once a week, once a year, once a month, whatever. But it's one that's probably not that strong. Now, often would be a go-to source. Some group or some organization or some person that they go to find out about books. So let's talk about often, because I know that's what everybody wants to know. What is the most often used source? Now, we had 41.02% of those surveyed friends and family. Not Amazon, not bookstores, not social media, friends and family. Now, what were the second, third, and fourth ones? Now, the second, third, and fourth choices for these people, or the ones that were scoring or ranking the highest, were all what I would call book acquisition sources. It was Amazon, bookstores, and libraries. Now, Amazon was 32.24%, indicated Amazon as an often used source. 29.59% said that the library was. And then 29.18% said bookstores. The physical brick and mortar bookstores was an often used source. Now, what's interesting about all of this, these top 4 often used sources is that the friends and family was about 41%, and then the rest don't rank as high. You know, the highest one there was like 32%. So there's a definite difference, you know, and a definite preference for friends and family, but there's not that much difference between the three, what I would call book acquisition sources, which would be Amazon, bookstores, and libraries. Only about 3% separates those three from each other. So what I find interesting about that is I was really looking to see if either like Amazon was running away with it in terms of as an often used source, or if the traditional bookstores and libraries were still strong. So it appears that they all have about equal strength right now. And so that's good news also for self-published authors, because that means you can, you know, certainly use Amazon, which most self-published authors are using for selling their books and promoting their books. So it's good to see that Amazon is within that big use group. So that's really good news. But for self-published authors, in terms of the top uses or the top ranking source of friends and family, that means it's going to be a slow person-to-person marketing effort. Now, that's good in a way because you can control that. You can, you know, talk to your friends, and it's kind of like what I call the shampoo commercial. Remember from the 80s? It was okay, I love this organic shampoo or whatever. And I told two friends and they told two friends and so on and so on and so on. So you have that situation for marketing, which is lower cost than some other marketing avenues, such as advertising. Now you might wonder why I didn't include advertising. Well, you don't go, I really only looked at sources where you would intentionally either ask or go to find a book to read or get a recommendation for a book to read. Now, when you get on social media or watch TV, you don't flip a channel or go to a page, well, I really want to see some ads. No, that does not happen. So I did not include advertising as a source, just to let you know. All right, now let's go to the occasionally used ones. This, I have to admit, kind of surprised me. The top occasionally used source in terms of the number of people responding that they used it occasionally was radio, TV, newspapers, and other mass media type of sources. 49.59% indicated that they use that occasionally. Now, in the second and third spots are bestsellers and social media. Bestsellers were indicated as occasionally used by 48.57% of respondents, and social media was 48.16%. Now, notice how those top occasionally used sources are all media. That's pretty interesting. But none of those three sources made it into an often used category or ranking with these participants. In fact, sometimes the never used, a lot of people were indicating that they never used these media sources. So it doesn't have as much pull as some of those other often used sources that we talked about. But it is interesting, and the one that self-published authors have the most control over is, of course, social media. So yes, using social media to help promote your books is still a good thing. Now, Here's the never used category. The top never used category to find books to read in terms of the number of respondents saying they never used it was book clubs. 65.92% of those respondents indicated that they never use book clubs. Never. A couple of the other top never used sources were podcasts. 59.39% indicated that they never use podcast. And 58.16% said they never use blogs. And 40.82% indicated that they never use Goodreads or the book recommendation type sites. When you added the never to occasionally for those top sources, we're looking at sort of to never use in the high 80% of the participants in this survey. Now this is interesting because what are we hearing most of the time, especially as self-published authors? You gotta have a blog. You gotta have a podcast. You gotta be on Goodreads. Get into the book clubs. Yet that's not where people are exactly going to discover new books to read. So here's a quick summary of what I found in this survey research. 1, friends and family are the key way that you can build your fans and book buying audience. Social media is a good way to get in touch with your fans or create new fans, but don't expect it to be a go-to source for those people, so it might have mixed results. And those never used sources, well, if you want to use them, great. Just be realistic with your expectations of what those can produce in terms of fans for your work and book buyers. So I hope you found this helpful. And if you'd like a quick PDF report of these findings, just go to my website, HeidiThorne.com, click on newsletter, join my newsletter, and you'll get a link to the report that you can download. Please, please rate, review, and subscribe to the Heidi Thorne Show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or Podbean so that you don't miss an episode. If you like the video version better, hey, that's fine. Go to my YouTube channel, my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel, and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so that you get an alert when the new videos are available. My self-published books are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is go to my Heidi Thorne author page and you will see all of my books listed there. Of course, I would truly appreciate it if you would share this video with your friends on social media. And if you want to connect with me, my website is very simply HeidiThorne.com. And again, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter so that you can get the summary report of these survey results. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.